Yo, peace and blessings to everybody out there. This is Karev of the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast, where we introduce you to your future favorite artists today while celebrating hip hop culture worldwide, not just in Jersey, not just in New York, worldwide. And today I have one of my foundational great MCs that I would like to reintroduce you to. But before we do, let's take care of some things. First and foremost, thank you for giving me your time and coming to Heritage Hip Hop. Make sure you hit the like button. Instagram, everybody on Instagram, join us on YouTube. Facebook, join us on YouTube. YouTube likes when we have likes and we have comments. So if you like to be a part of the interview, make sure you send me your comments, please. Not only that, if you like what you see tonight and you want to help me build this platform, hit that Cash App, $ Heritage Hip Hop. All right. Not only that, everybody, we are on the road to 5K, which means when Heritage Hip Hop reach 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to partner with my partners on the Mic Council, the Hello Effect podcast, and the Mixtape Show, and we're going to collaborate to give all of you something free as a thank you for helping us build our platform and build our numbers. So please make sure you subscribe, make sure you join us, because tonight is special. Hip hop does a very piss poor job at saying thank you, and tonight a gentleman is coming back to the show so I could properly say thank you, because not only have I grown as a podcaster, he has further cemented himself as one of those MCs that you need to know. And if you don't know, you'll realize that you've been listening to him for years and didn't know exactly how deep his influence is. Please, sir, introduce yourself to the people one more time.
Peace, party people. This is Freddie Foxxx, a.k.a. Bumpy Knuckles, Pop Duke in the building. Heritage Hip-Hop, salute to you, man. Thank you for having me, bro.
You know, it's always a pleasure to get to talk to some of my favorite MCs, because you get to teach me, you know?
Right.
Now, for those of y'all who don't know, let me run down a quick history. I got introduced to this man through Rap City, back when I think Chris Thomas was the host. If y'all know, y'all know. Wow. Flavor Unit was on really popping back then. And he had a song, So Tough, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And So Tough was a song, shout out to my boy Nas, the Romantic of A&N and R&B podcast. And we talk about your song still to this day. Because that song was one of the ones that really got us to see a video and hear lyrics and go, damn, he told the whole story in one video and it made sense.
Yeah.
Your artistry was amazing. It was immaculate. Then Roll with the Flavor Unit. Heal Yourself. Human Education Against Lies. Then you were reborn into our conscience as Bumpy Knuckles. And I remember you on MOP, right. I Love, Gangstar, The Militia. And through the resurgence of you as Bumpy Knuckles, apart from Freddie Foxxx, hip-hop took a lot of different changes. And for me, always coming back to your music gave me a constant that lyrics, bars, and integrity should go hand in hand, not be parallel to each other.
Right.
How do you feel about that? And where does integrity lie with you?
Well, first of all, man, I appreciate how much attention you've been paying. And to me, that's always a blessing to know that, I'm making the proper representation in front of people who really, who really ride with what I'm doing. So to answer your question, I've always had that kind of energy about being an MC, and, integrity wise, that's like partially subjective. Like we could say what the rules and regulations are and what the situation is pertaining to that, but you have to kind of design your own level of what it is. And mine has always been to show up when I'm called to be an MC and to do a project or be like, I want to show up. I want to show up so people say, yo, it always excites me to hear how excited people get when they hear my verse or when they hear, because that's what MCing was about, being nicer than the other guy or being dope or standing out, you know what I mean? And that's why I carry it like that, because I want to show up. I got to show up on that mic,
I want to ask you a question that's really rhetorical, but yet vital to this conversation. I'm a spiritual man, and the Bible says that a good name lives longer than a good deed, that people will talk about you forever.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you own, that you give away, is your name. And it has to be honorable for a person to like you or what you do so much that they want you to write your name on something to be remembered. And
Right.
you have projected your career to a point where not only can you write one name, you can write two.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to have a legacy that stands side by itself, but still have one main purpose?
Wow. Well, the reason I have the two names is, in the beginning, if you ever go back and listen to Freddie Foxx's Here, yeah, I was fresh off of Supreme Force. You know what I mean? And rocking with Supreme Force, we would, being students of the Cold Crush 4, that's kind of what I was coming into the record game with. That come out fresh and handling things was group kind of driven, which is the Freddie Foxxx thing. You know what I mean? And I think as I got into the solo MC lane, kind of looking at the competition, but more so for what I don't want to be doing. You know what I mean? That's what I don't want to do. I don't want to rap like nobody else. We come from that cloth where everything is identified by your voice. Remember we used to say back in the days, oh, we got an ill voice. Like they'll probably pause you if you say that now, but we used to, you know what I mean? We used to really make sure we want to hone in on those things. And that's one of the things that I know when I started as a solo MC, the more I got into that, I was actually looking for cats that I felt could put enough pressure on me for me to write better, write better rhymes. You know what I mean? Like I always try to pick the best MCs to do songs with. KRS-One, Tretch. I got stuff with Big Daddy Kane. I like Cool G Rap and all of those dudes that I know. A person can't stand in a room with them and say he's better than them. You got to get on the mic and show it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what the Bumpy Knuckles thing started becoming a more of me, just the more the fighter in me to be the best in this in a room full of greatness is what that fight is about. And then it became the fight for a while. Look at this game, man. This ain't what I thought it was going to be. Dudes in here being shady and shisty and they stealing ideas, and that it became more dominant because I needed to be in that side of things in order to get my point across. So Bumpy Knuckles and Freddie Foxxx is just two different personalities of who I am. You know what I mean? That's kind of what that is. And it's, I love that I was able to still remain relevant in both namespaces because that's who I am. It's not a gimmick or nothing. You know what I mean? It's not a, we all have different modes that we're in. Sometimes you in a good mood, sometimes you in a bad mood, sometimes you in a, you in a aggressive mood. We all switch, so you have to put a tag on and able to be able to control it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what that is.
Somebody tell them mother effers while I'm here. Remember that?
Yeah. Tell them I'm here. Yeah, that's Alchemist. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So everything that you say lines up with your career perfectly. I have a question in the chat. Shout out to Jabinex89. He said, Legend OG Bumpy Knuckles. So the love is there. Salute. We got
Peace, yo.
Real Freaker. He said, why did you name yourself Bumpy Knuckles? Because we love the name Alone in the Bricks. Shout out to Brick City, Norton, New Jersey.
Yeah.
So why did you give yourself that name?
Well, it was an accident. There's a bunch of interviews I've done where I said stuff like told the story, but I'll tell it again. There was a time when, as Freddie Foxxx, I was seeing a lot of the Foxes come back in there. They had Foxy Brown and Red Fox and Reggae Dude. It was a lot of Foxes around. So it just so happened one day I got into something with a dude over in Queens. Quick long story short, I bust my hand up, right? So the girl said, "Oh, well, I got back on the block." She said, "Yo, what happened to your hand?" She said, "Wow, you got a lot of lumps on your hand." I said, "Nah, the lumps is on his head. These are bumps." And she said, "You got bumpy knuckles." And then I said, I just said, "Okay, cool. That's what it is."
Shout out to the metaphor, Bumpy
Yeah,
Knuckles.
that's all. It fell into my lap.
But you know what? Rhetorically, as an MC, you do remind me of a boxer.
Yeah.
Because there's different types of boxers. You have sluggers, counter punchers, outboxers, and you have straight up pugilists and brawlers, correct?
Right, correct.
Your style has been outboxing and a counterpunch style to me.
Mm.
One of my favorite songs. Well, let me pull it up because I want to be accurately correct when I talk to you. All
Mhm.
right, this is important to me. Shout out to everybody who watches the podcast and say, nah, you said this wrong. Thank you for correcting me. So
Mhm.
that I want to talk to you. Here we go. Industry Shakedown. The
Mhm.
name of the song is MCs Come and MCs Go.
Yeah, house
Set up,
party.
set up, fall back, punch. Say
Yeah,
it, fall back, hit you. And
yeah,
every rhyme that you said at the end of that, it had an to it because you
yeah,
hit that stride. Right?
yeah.
Then that was the setup party, the outboxer. The counterpunch to you has been, like I said, some of my favorite songs, like So Tough, right? But on a more recent song, on the Pop Duke joint, you had Grumpy Old Man.
Mhm.
Shout out to my man Grump, who has that name.
Mhm.
You have a style and delivery that you can set somebody up for the punch, or you can walk them into your delivery.
Mhm.
What does it take to create a style of many styles? So you're not just rapping, but you're making sense and you're building the canvas, not only telling the story of the portrait.
Right. Because I listen to the music. Like I really listen to the music. So if somebody send me a track to get on, I always tell them, all right, let me study for a couple days. You know what I'm saying? I don't try to rush and knock it out any faster than the process is going to allow me to do it. So it comes out different because if all the music that you get on is different, then all of your rhymes and approaches and all that stuff will be different as well. Unless you a gimmick. A gimmick, you got to stick to what you do. My thing is I listen to the music. I really sit down. I'm trying to find something in the music that I can write a flow to so it matches. That's how you get drug into the process of, having this diverse delivery of what, and it's about the emotion and everything. It's not just about, oh, it sound like something that Pete Rock did, or it sound like something that Premier did, or it sound like, I don't really care about all of that. Dudes be name dropping. They name drop. I would love to get you on my resume, and then they name drop 1,000 dudes that they did records for, and that shit is like that doesn't motivate me. I want to hear the music. If I hear the music and there's something in there that makes me say, "Oh, I could pin something to this," then that's what it's going to match whatever you give me. That's what energy wise and everything. There's guys who have given me beats, right? And they say, "Yo, I want to get you on this," and then I rap on it, and then they'll say it's dope, but I thought you was going to do what you did on Militia, and I'm like, well, oh, you don't want me on you want me to turn you into Premier. That's what you want me to do. You're not trying to be your own person. I'm good on you, son. Like, hold that record for a couple of years. I'm way ahead of my time. Hold that. And then few years after that, they hit me like, yo, remember that joint you did? Can I use it on my mixtape? Or can I, you know what I mean? It happens all the time because people don't want to, they not want to make something original. You should want to make something original and something that nobody else is doing. The redundancy is annoying. Like, I can't get with that shit, you know?
That sets me up before a question that I had later, but since you brought it up, part of what I love about how you make your music is the care you put in titling a lot of your tracks.
Mhm.
One of my favorite Bumpy Knuckles songs, I Never Put Away My Focus, or Put My Focus Away.
Yeah.
Tell me about that and how what you said collaborates with how you created that song.
You know what? Premier played the beat for me. We were doing a collection, right? When he played it, he told me, he said, this beat was for Kanye West. And I said, okay, word. He said, but for some reason Kanye didn't want it or he didn't use it or something like that. But he played it for me. I said, all right, cool. Let me see what I can do with it. And then when I started writing to it, I switched it around. I think it was one of the beats I switched around where he wanted me to do the chorus where the hook was, and I didn't hear it that way. So Premier gave me enough room, you know, and freedom as an artist to write it how I heard it. And that's just, to me, I think that's a problem with MCs is a lot of times their focus be on, you can't tell people what the focus on or what their motivation is, but their focus seems to be on what the industry is calling hip hop and not what the culture is calling hip hop. You know what I mean? And that's where the idea for that came from. You know what I mean? If you listen to the words, you'll see that's kind of what I'm really kind of talking some life shit, but You know, it's about you never put your focus away. Don't ever put your focus away. Always stay focused on the outcome and what the goal is supposed to be. That's what you got to stay focused on. You know, all these distractions out here, man. And, you know, you log on. It right away. It's shit that take you away from thinking about what you're supposed to be focused on. So now you stuck scrolling all day looking at stupid shit. You know.
I'll salute you for that. I have another comment for you from Shot Cobain of Out the Mud Music Group of the Ill City Collective. He
Mm.
says, salute to the legend. I listen to that Turn Up the Mic featuring Nas every day in the gym.
Oh wow.
So another thing about music is when you make music, you're inspiring the life. Like I've told you myself, you inspire the lives of people who sit down and intake the message. What do you believe is the song that you made that impacted the world to the point where people had to come back and tell you about what you've done for them in your shock or in your fulfillment of being MC? What is that song?
Mm. Oh man, I don't know. It's been different ones. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes people come up to me and say, "Oh man, every time I go to the gym, I listen to I Love or the Militia or or So Tough or one of those type of songs." And then or people have come to me and say, "Hey man, I did a whole bunch of albums called Leaks and I put them on my Bandcamp for free, right?" And the Leaks projects was about me finding producers who had no name but dope beats and just taking it and doing a song and on their beat and just putting it up for people to free download. I never sold one Leaks record. I never sold none of that. It all downloads for free. It was 4 albums, 4 versions. DJ Shannon was finding me these joints. So, you know, people call me about those and say, "Yo, man, I listen to the Leaks projects and it's inspiring." A lot of older dudes will hit me up and say, "Yo, Bump, the fact that you still rocking and making records and dropping songs and spitting like that, man, I'm inspired." I hear that all the time. So it's hard to pinpoint one particular song, you know what I mean, more than another, because it's just for so many different reasons. I'm like the guy that you got to know if either you know or you don't. You know what I mean? It's like knowing about Bumpy Knuckles is like, oh shit, that's like some real special hip hop jewel that cats hold. You know what I mean? Or people that don't know just don't know. And a lesson ain't a lesson till you learn it. So
That's why no music is old to a new set of ears.
yeah.
And that's why I have joy. I was just talking to one of my best peoples who's in the chat, Freaka, right? And we talked
Mhm.
about East Coast bias and how regionality is important and how younger people don't really care about the older thing. And my argument is it's not that they don't care because they're going to do what they want to do. But if they're real music lovers, if you give them something of quality, it will inspire them to move forward.
Mm.
What inspires you today? And is there a younger artist who has made you pick up your pen and said, I like where he's going, but I could do it this way, or I like that, let me do something new?
Uh, no, I don't think what it is with me when it comes to young artists is I don't focus on that. That's not my lane. You know what I'm saying? That's not my lane. But you know, to me, I can give you something to look at and something that I can show you that can help you understand how to keep curating your stuff in the direction you're going. But I don't really think there's nothing like I seen Syrie the Kid on Twitter back in the days, and I hit him up and I was like, "Yo, dog, come to my studio and work with me, man. I can show you a couple things that can help take you where where I think you might be going." Me and him became tight, man. That dude is like, you know what I mean? And I mentor guys like that, you know what I mean? But I don't look at young guys as they have anything to teach me when it comes to maybe when their music, but I don't do their music. Like they could explain it to me, but they're not going to teach me. I'm not trying to do what they're doing. So a lot of these dudes get caught in that lane. I don't get caught in that lane. I'm too busy focusing on my lane and trying to do my Isaac Hayes or do my Al Green all the way out the gate, but doing what I do. I don't want to be what these young dudes are. I respect them for what they doing. So and I can only tell them, listen, dog, if it's a beat you got that I can get on it, that I hear that I want to get on, I'll get on it. If you doing anything that gets my attention, I'm gonna holler at you. Yo, I need that. Send that to me, and I'll give you whatever weight my name can hold to help your career. I'm with that. So it ain't like I don't want to be doing trap music and all that because I don't do that shit. That's what they do. That's their thing. So I let them rock with that shit. You know.
No, that's perfect because we're gonna go segue that into what the point of this conversation is that hip hop has been evolved, devolved, and has changed into so many things. It became a world culture. And I'm sure from your experience, you've seen when hip hop really first got its first grassroots in the
Mhm.
community, going from the east to the west, and you've traveled and seen it all over the world. To now where it got to a point where people are saying hip hop just ain't hip hop no more. And even OGs are saying the stuff that's out really is not hip hop. Why are y'all calling it that? How do you see what people call hip hop? Is it the same? Is it evolved? Or does it need to be reawakened in our community?
You know what? I'm a you know. I've been doing hip hop for a long time, bro. I ain't seen it go nowhere because I'm making it. You see what I'm saying? People so busy looking at themselves, they'll never see greatness in other people. You know what I'm saying? So you can look at somebody and think, you know, it's more niggas complaining about hip hop than actually making it. And that's the shit that I'm like, I don't that's you know what I'm saying? Like I'm too busy. I spent money on studios and built me studios so that I could always be able to make hip hop. I wish I had the time to sit around and talk about how whack somebody else is. You feel me? I got 16 bars, and in that structure somewhere, I might say that every once in a while. But I ain't gotta prove to nobody that I know how to rhyme. Like dudes still be trying to get me on songs. Like I don't, and it ain't because and it's only because I'm in a quiet taste when it comes to certain type of songs with people. See what I mean? So that's where my focus be at. As far as you know, people doing calling hip hop, man, the game been sold by, we got the treats. Once you start giving cats what they can't get, mansions, houses, Rolls Royces, you know, they struggling to get that. Once you give them that, you can come in and say what hip hop is all day long, and people too busy dangling carrots in front of people's face for them to realize the vultures that's dwindling it amongst us. So the only thing I could do as an artist is make hip hop the way I make it. I wish I had time to sit around and point fingers at who ain't really keeping it real and why this and that ain't that. Every time I do that, I lose time in the studio creatively to do something productive with my talent.
So, is one of the most endangered parts of hip hop the fact that people still use poverty as a metric to keep the culture down?
Hey, listen, dog. Look at how many people are selling their souls for short change. It's evident. It's self evident. That's always been the issue. People want to wake up famous. And if you wake up famous, you wasn't sleeping, you was working. Don't think you're gonna ever wake up famous. It don't work like that. You gotta put the work in, man. And your head, your chin head turn white. That shit ain't got nothing to do with what you write. You know what I mean? Unless it's influence on something that you want to put out there, you know, in your work or in your bars. But you know, we MCs, man. This is what we do. We get on the mic and we write all this top five this and Mount Rushmore that. All that shit is part of the technology to keep your mind off of focusing on making the bomb shit and making real good music. It takes you all over the place. When you learn how to block all that noise out, man, and all them stupid arguments over who is better than who, like hip hop got 7 MCs, 9 MCs, or even 40 MCs that should be get the fuck out of here, man. You talking about a culture that done existed when cats was home, when cats wasn't even thought about. They fathers was corny MCs. Now they born and they want to tell everybody that they nice. You know what I mean? Everybody gonna say what they say, fam. Focus. If you gonna focus on music and focus on making fire, then do that. That be the best you in that department, because ain't nothing about no bars no more. You got a few cats that really care about what they put down on that paper or what they typing in that phone or whatever they doing. You know what I mean?
That's facts because I've talked to like artists like Nick Grant. Nick Grant, one of the ones that try to create, not just speak. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And coming back to you, because I don't want to shout out other MCs in your story.
Oh, good. Everybody get theirs.
True, but respectfully speaking, though, one thing that hip hop has done, hip hop went from, remember they said radio killed the no, video killed the radio star,
Yeah.
and then the CDs killed the tapes.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and now we got the technology age. But now we're living in the age of knowledge, and then the podcast has come.
Mhm.
The podcast has elevated hip hop and has taken it steps back. And I'm going to say this as a podcaster because a lot of people are full of shit. And like you said, a lot of people just had these petty argument conversations instead of talking about the preservation of the culture, about saluting the people who are OGs and then introducing the new artists that can take your children to a place where not only is the music elevated, but the mind elevates too.
Right.
How do you feel about podcasting in the age of technology? And is it helping hip hop go forward, even though it's not a music platform in the culture?
It's helping the conversations, but you know, if it's not about music, then it ain't moving. See, that's the part that everybody's really focusing on, or should be focusing on, is the music, because that's what we did. That's what we do. You know, hip hop is about music. It's about culture. It's about dance. It's about fashion. It's about a lot of things. But the music is the trampoline. You know what I mean? Rappers get blamed for everything. You know what I'm saying? If a 19-year-old kid get caught with a gun in a Walmart, and he tell the police, somebody say, "Yo, he's a rapper from around the way," they call him a rapper in the news. But they'll never say if a dude was going to school to be a dentist and he lost his mind and just snapped and shot up. They gonna never say an inspiring dentist. They gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? But that's just the power of what it is. You know what I mean? That's just the power of what we do. You know?
But that's weird to me because rapper has become the new N-word in society. Just like woke became something totally different when other
Yeah,
using it.
yeah,
Not what we used it for. And
yeah.
to me, that rapping changed to become not an art form, but a hobby. So it
Right.
seemed like hip hop went from the hobbyist to the versus the artist. We always had mainstream, underground, and things like that. But
Yeah.
now, when you have the hobbyist versus the artist, and people who don't know the artistry,
Right.
it's hard to get them to understand what something is as opposed to what something was. Do you agree?
I don't know why we have to, because I'm gonna be honest with you, man. If you in it, and this is who you are, man. Somebody next to you trying to be that, don't really, it ain't really a conversation we can really have unless they asking me for some kind of advice, because you got to keep yourself on a certain level. You got, you know what I mean? Nobody can tell you the level you on. You have to, your skill set and what you do as an artist puts you on that level, right? I notice dudes be mingling too much, man. You know, they mingling too much with cats that, that already think they on that level, but they not, and you not giving them no reason to think otherwise, because you always got flames in the comment section and you really don't feel like that. You see what I'm saying? So we got to really stop playing that game of, I don't really have these kind of conversations too much about the outside world when I'm focusing on, the things that are in my sight. You know what I mean? I see a lot of young cats, man, that, that hit me up. Yo, I want to work. I work with them. Hell yeah. What you want to do? And then I put them on, I put them on to some game. A lot of dope producers out here, man, that, not just guys that know how to use the machine, but guys who can make something that you can feel in your spirit when they play it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys. I've been doing albums with cats, man, just in my lane doing me. A lot of people don't know, but that's what it is for me, man. It's too much chatter back and forth about what ain't right with the culture and who ain't doing this and what's wrong with that. And I get those. There's relevant conversations in that. But when cats start doing it that ain't producing nothing to, you can't be telling people they got whack records and you ain't got no bars. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't dropping nothing yourself. Like, how many times people want to hear that? You're starting to sound like a bunch of old grumpy dudes that, you know, but there's a side of that works and there's a side of it that don't, but it's not something that should be highlighted for me. Like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like it's not. It's I don't think that's something for that I want to highlight about myself. Like me and my boys will sit around and smoke cigars and laugh at some of this shit that's going on all day long in private. But we ain't nobody doing this with the cameras on Instagram Live every time we do that. You know what I mean? So it's something we want to preserve for ourselves and sit around in the backyard while barbecuing and smoking cigars and kicking freestyles and shit. That's
So
some
do you
cool
think?
shit.
So in this part of the conversation, so do you think hip hop is still subject to the bully coon era?
Bully coon, what is that? What is that?
So the story of bully coon was back in the day when Jim Crow and racism was at its height. There was there's one what they call Negro who wanted to appeal to his masters so much that he would beat the community down to be the HNIC, but be
Okay.
the top shucker and jiver when it came to his masters. Do you feel hip hop is still subject to the bully coon era?
Okay. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know. I've heard that story, but I never heard it called bully coon. That's the first time I've heard that. But okay, got it. But is it subject to it? It's always subject to something. You know what I mean? It's always gonna be subject to something. However you phrase it or call it, there's always gonna be a moment where money exposes people for who they really are. You understand what I mean? So, in any instance, there's people who don't know how to handle popularity. You know what I mean? They somebody start paying attention to them. All of a sudden, they turn into this whole different person, like that they think people would like. Look how many guys here. Listen to this. Look how many people when they first come to get in the game, right? They want to be in every room, shaking hands and taking in every picture. The credibility is being built, and then all of a sudden they pop. And now the same people can't even get next to them. They surrounded by security. That's like the whole focus now. You're surrounded by people that keep everybody away from you, and it's a fine line because now you see what the difference is. You got something people want. I wish we could get back to focusing on making songs, man, and just making dope songs and making good hip hop music and keeping it separated from all of the other junk that's out there that get it misconstrued when they mixing it all together with all of these conversations about stuff that everything is people commenting on hip hop that you can look at them and tell, yo, what are you talking about hip hop for? Mind your business. Like you ain't even, you know what I'm saying? Mind your business. Why are you talking about, you know what I mean? Why on the news and all these dudes is just because you listen to a couple of rap songs, now you all in egging on arguments between people like that kind of craziness, man. It's just crazy. How could you make a dope song if you focusing on stupid shit like that?
Great question. And you know what? We're gonna leave y'all with that as we go and take a little break. Because just like he said, how dare we talk hip hop, but we don't talk music? Let's get back to the music, and we'll be back right after this.
Where you get your hip hop from? Yeah. What's up? This tribal trigger trench in the building. You already know. Nip, naughty.
Hey, Redman is in the building, of course. Jersey's finest, all about them bars, marijuana smoker. Hey, PSA announcement. I need everybody go support. That's right, support my fucking state, my city. Heritage Hip Hop. A New Jersey media source that celebrates New Jersey hip-hop worldwide. Facts. Please subscribe to Heritage Hip-Hop on social media. That is Heritage Hip-Hop on social media.
What up, y'all, man? It's your boy Do It All, Do Pray Kelly, right here on Heritage Hip-Hop, man. Look, man, let me tell you something. Make sure you support Heritage Hip-Hop because without these brothers bringing you hip-hop, we're not going to stay informed, man, the way that we need to stay informed, man. And they're not just giving you hip-hop, man. They're giving you the heritage of hip-hop right here, man. Yo, Karev, I see you. Heritage hip-hop, man. Let's do it. It ain't nothing like heritage hip-hop.
Salute to everybody watching Heritage Hip Hop tonight. Salute to my boy Knowledge Born Allah is on. Do the Knowledge Radio is in the building. He said the legends are at work. I'm here tonight with Bumpy Knuckles, if you do not know. And make sure you hit that like button and bring the comments in because we want you to be a part of this conversation. But we spoke about how people speak about the genre, the culture. We actually want to talk about his work inside of the culture and why it's preserving the culture moving forward. Let's talk about your past a little bit, right? I want to talk about hip hop does a very piss poor job at saying thank you. It does a very piss poor job at honoring some of its legends. I want to say since Guru has passed away, a very important part of hip hop has been taken away.
Yeah.
Whether it's the monotone flow, whether it was in your face, lyrics or content, or even the fact that even when he was in his mind, he gave us songs that talk to humanity as well as manhood, like Moment of Truth and things like that.
Yeah.
What do you miss about him, and how did he influence you, or in your friendship? I will believe. How did he help you see the best of the culture in yourself as well?
Because Guru was a real artist. You know, like he I looked at him like, you know, we MCs, we rock, you know, he understood that beginning like I understood the beginning, and we always had those kind of conversations. But the one thing I really, really, really miss and loved about Guru is he's an artist. Like he really, his writing was really it was art form for him. You know what I mean? What he discussed, what he talked about on the songs, how he delivered the songs. He was a stylish guy. Like, you know what I mean? He was always about his style. If you knew anything about Guru, he was very stylish. And, you know, he wanted to wear his clothes a certain type of way. He wanted to present himself as an artist. Like that's why he fits so good into the jazz space, because he had that kind of artistry where you could see him as a cultural icon. He's an artist, artistic cultural icon. And he could stand in Harlem and you would think he was from Harlem. You know what I mean? He could stand in Brooklyn, you would think he was from Brooklyn, because he knew how to blend into black culture, because he's a black man. He understands, and he represented that. So that part is really what I think really made me like, yo, I like this guy, because he makes me want to keep myself focused on being an artist. You know, where that sometimes you can get taken out of that frame of mind when you're around people that all they know is the street. All they know is, you know, the dark side, or all they know, you know, when you're an artist and you can turn those things into art. You know what I mean? Guru was really good at that. Like anything he thought about. We traded rhyme books one day on the tour bus, and he was surprised that he could read my writing. You know what I mean? He was like, yo, Bump, you write you write good. I thought I was gonna see a lot of scribble, but when I looked at his pages, you know, it looked like some kind of coded, the way he writes. You know, Premier would understand what I'm talking about. His handwriting was unique. You know what I mean? To him, it wasn't like script or it was regular F. So, you know, he made it look like he was tagging it almost. You know. So those he was a really I hate this long answer, but he was a really artsy guy. You know what I mean? And that's what I missed about Guru. He inspired me in a lot of ways, and that was one way, was to remain an artist. Don't ever downplay your art form, the artistic side of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope. Now, and your answer's not too long because I'm setting this up for a purpose. Were you part of the Gangstar Foundation? Were you in, or you just
Well, I guess I mean, well, there's no initiation like that, but you know, if you notice, anytime I ever did songs with, I'm going to answer that question, but anytime I ever did songs with anybody, you know, like when I was initially, the crew that I'm initially was in, MN, is Paid in Full. You know what I mean? And then when I started doing my solo thing, I rocked with KRS-One. They said I was in BDP. I rocked with, you know, Naughty by Nature. You know, that I was, you know, I was in Jersey. I was with Naughty. So anybody ever rock, that impression is left there because of the presence that I bring. And that's not me talking crazy. That's just me saying what it is. You know, I make sure you listen to the records. You know, I've been there. Gangstar was different in the sense that, you know, they adopted me into the foundation based on, you know, me coming around and blending in with that mesh. You know what I mean? The first when I think it was OC, when I did OC, we did that in Premier's room at D&D. Everything was being done at D&D, man. So when I did the Militia, when I did I did I Love in that room, I did Militia in that room, I did all those songs in that room. You know what I mean? So living on them, I lived on the road with Premier and them for a few tours, man. We was together for a long. So to answer your question, yes, absolutely.
I love how when you rhyme, you stand out. But you know what? I said this in a prior interview. Were you ever like a reader, comic book head, or anything like that?
Yeah, back in the days, yeah, a little bit, not a lot, but I used to like, you know, when I get on when I would be in trouble, I would have to sit back and read. My mom would make me read. She was like, "Yo, if I did something as a kid and she punished me, I had to go on her. She'd make me read. We had encyclopedias, comic books. We had all kind of literature in the room. No TV and all that. You gonna read?" And she would make me read.
I want to ask you a trick question. Who was the most important member of each team?
Who is the most important member of each team? Like
Yeah.
the crews that I've been around, you mean?
Like in the comic books, who was
Oh,
the
and
most important member of each team? Trick
oh,
question.
yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that
The
without
most
thinking about
important
it.
member of every comic book team is the reader,
Okay.
because the story has to relate for it to take life. And in my journey through hip hop and listening to your music, as the reader, your presence helped make the team happen. Not that it couldn't exist with you, but you added a fulfillment to a lot of the things that you did. Like, think about it. In Marvel Comics, right? Wolverine is an X-Men and he's an Avenger. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the characters may change or may go to different places, but it's you understanding the story that made the impact or the purpose of the story felt.
Right.
So here's an example for you. I put on one of my favorite albums and I hear "What's Mine I Love When I Fight, Push the Shove, Hand in Hand," because you like right there. Most people know if you don't got a good hook, you don't have a good song.
Yeah.
And the way you were able to kick a song off and it be the hook, and then one of my favorite groups of all time, y'all don't know MOP, they do their thing, but then the way you end the song and still have the hook be you, that's the fulfillment of art, because it wasn't just somebody throwing paint on the wall and seeing what shit look good. It was the crafting of a voice, a beat, a measure, a time signature. It was that.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the original point why I said this. Part of what I love about your music is you take your time to give, not just to create. What's the most important part of making a song to you, and what is it that you want to give the listener so they walk away fulfilled with your music?
I would say the most important part is listening for me. Like, you can give me the beat if it's, you know what I mean. It's not about. I try to spend less time, you know, trying to pick the right beat, but more time trying to make the right song with what I have. You know what I mean? So I know everybody's not, you know, whatever I do with Premier, it ain't gonna sound like what I do with Pete Rock. You know, whatever I do with Alchemist, you know, it ain't gonna sound like what I did with DJ Scratch. You know what I mean? Everything is based on the producer bringing a sound to the table that I can match with what I, you know, would bring to it what's missing from vocally, and then do what I do. And then that list, I gotta listen for that. It's important to listen. A lot of times, dudes so busy trying to have something familiar with somebody else that they not listening. That it's not the. I hear dudes say, "Oh, I would kill that," and me as a producer thinking, "No, you wouldn't," because it don't match. It, you know what I mean? It don't match. Your voice don't match that. A lot of these dudes got these squeaky ass voices now. They don't got no. It ain't, you know, they ain't. Everybody rap the same, man. It's like somebody put helium in the food or something. You know, it's just real crazy to me that the diversity is looked at as, because you're not like everybody else. It's like, nah, that's, you know, it's almost like that shit is crazy to me. You know what I mean? So when I walk into a situation where I'm working, if it's my studio or whoever's studio, the first thing I do, man, is put the music on, and I close my eyes and I listen. If sometimes I'll listen for an hour, sometimes I'll listen for, you know what I mean? I'm not in a rush. You know what I mean? And a lot of the dudes bragging, oh, I wrote this whole song in like 20 minutes, and it be sounding like that, you know? So you want to make sure you listen, and because we in a listening business. We mix records so that they sound good. People mix their vocals so that they sound good. You have to use your ears, man, you know, and your vision. It's you'll see more with your eyes closed if you listen.
That's deep. You'll see more with your eyes closed if you listen. So let's talk about that. Because you've done music with so many. Now that hip hop's going back to the regions, has there ever been a region that inspired you and brought more out of you than just what the regular that your region gives?
Well, you know what? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that because different times, different things inspire you. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we can be inspired by things that we going through, or we can be inspired by things that we see other people going through, or you could be inspired by not going through anything. You know what I mean? That's I would imagine that's what Ice Cube was trying to do when he did Today Was a Good Day. You know what I mean? It hit at the right time because when everybody's talking about what's bad in the world, somebody inspired by something that ain't nothing going wrong. That's when art really takes a shine for me. You know, I look at whatever region I'm in. If I'm looking at what I can do that people can go back and say, oh, I remember this era of Freddie Foxxx, or I remember this era of Bumpy Knuckles. I remember this era of Bumpy Knuckles. And then no MCs, man. No MCs that I've ever worked with, have ever been somebody that I would have said, nah, I don't, I always been asked to get on songs. I never asked nobody, yo, man, can I be on your record? Or can I get a verse on that? I never did that, and being asked to always be on somebody else's music has always been a blessing for me, man. No matter when, you know what I mean? What era I was in or whatever, people would hit me up because they needed what I had. And I brought it to the table and hopefully made something that people will be able to study years down the line,
Yo, this is one of my favorite interviews. Check this out. Shout out to my man Pop. He said, now they call me Freddie Foxxx, Daddy Boot Knots with the burn marks on my hip from my twin Glocks. Yo, shout out to the quotables. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're able to show you this love because, like I said, hip hop, it seems like we only hear about artists when they die. And I don't want to be that podcast or that one that does that. I want to give people that love as they're still here. And one thing I love, I always said, because we talked about OGs and preserving hip hop. In my opinion, and I may have the fan opinion, the artist may hate my opinion, but it's mine. Sorry, y'all. I always said that to evolve in hip hop, or for hip hop to evolve, we have to start incorporating more music into our culture, not just technology. And I love the live band thing. That's why the Roots will always be a landmark, a benchmark in hip hop to me because it was live band. I remember the brand new Heavies had Heavy Rhyme Experience Volume 1. You know what I'm saying? And you put out a project recently with the live band feel. Please talk about that and why that came up in your why that's part of your discography. Why did you feel like you wanted to do that?
Well, if anybody know hip hop, those records back in the days, Curtis Blow and those earlier songs were done with live bands, and Daru Jones and Mono Neon, we kind of, me and Daru talked about it, and he was able to get Mono into it to do a project called The Funkin' Tribe. And I really wanted to do it. I really wanted to add like a female singer, like a real soulful female, like somebody that could belt it out, man. Like, you know what I mean? And just goosebump everybody. And before that process happened, we just decided to record all of these songs. So I got a bunch of stuff that I did, songs I did. I said, I'm going to send you guys the tracks, and then they turn them into live. They remake the track with live instrumentation, and at the end, they would go into this break, almost like a vamp, right? And in the process of sound checking in the studio, they were playing these grooves and before each song. So I took them and I rapped on them, and then they made a project out of it. It was just something I just felt like vibing to do. So, and I thought it was a creative way for me to kind of use that era, that early band era of hip hop. You know, doing hip hop with a band is, you know, is we can all do samplers. We see that, but you know, I wanted to do something with the band.
That's fire because that's what the so people say black folks have no culture. When you do our history, music has been so synonymous with our culture when it comes to God, family, celebration, even food. And to hear you with the live band was refreshing because I believe in my only opinion that that's what makes a lot of our hip hop memorable is that you can take it from the studio to the
Hmm.
band and it lives.
Hmm.
Um, outside of you, Ghostface did it with Bad Bad Not Good, right?
Hmm.
And it was refreshing. When I hear even producers talk about hip hop, DJ Quick said they said what's missing from hip hop? He said a banjo. The guy who
Hmm.
listened didn't get it, but if you understand, it's music. It's
Music. Yeah.
different techniques. So I
Yeah.
wanted to say thank you for that project because it just goes to show that music is synonymous with life. And when the
Yeah.
music stops, that's when we should be in trouble. You feel me?
Hell yeah, man. And what's cool is, you know, knowing the kind of drummer, if anybody know Daru Jones, you know, that whole Jay Dilla feel, you know, his that's his thing, man. You know what I mean? So I always like that vibe. And then Mono is just, I mean, just funk out the window. You know what I mean? He just is ridiculous. So I knew it was gonna sound crazy. And then we have a project, a whole album, which we've been peeling through trying to finish mixing and getting it right, but it's crazy. It's crazy.
I look forward to all your music. Salute to
Thank
you.
you.
And you produce as well as rhyme.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that the ultimate cheat code?
Nah, you know why I had to do that? Because I'm not good at waiting for people, man. And I know what I want to rap on, so I felt like it would be wise for me years, and I mean literally I've been producing records since the 80s, late 80s. I was a student of Patrick Adams, not on and not on purpose, but being in the studio paying attention, and he was showing me how to program keyboards, and I was asking questions about the SSL board, like, yo, what does that knob do? What does this knob do? So I was seeking that knowledge. I wasn't just trying to be in there acting like I knew. I wanted to really know what I was going to need to be able to do in 20 years when I still want to rhyme. And producers ain't looking at you as somebody that they can really score a good record with, because they don't know, they looking at new guys that. So I think I got to learn how to make my own music, man. And boy, when I tell you how many MCs I said that to, and they was like, yeah, me to, yeah, man. When that COVID hit, the niggas was fucked up. They was calling the crib like, yo, Bump, can you send me something to rap to, man? I'm like, I told y'all, man, y'all should have had studios, man. I told you, man. You got to do your vocals on the phone now, like, you know what I mean? But it's always, I want to know it all. I want to know how to do everything I need to do to keep doing what I do without having to depend on nobody. There's nothing wrong with that, you know?
You're right. But you know what? That begs a question. You work on both sides of the boards.
Yeah.
Where does the producer ear begin and end? And when does the MC ear begin and end when you create music?
It's a good question. You know why? Because I can't do both at the same time. So there's a time when I don't feel like writing or whatever, or I'll just stack beats. I make beats all day long. I go through my process, and then I'll make beats and make beats and make beats over the months. And then all of a sudden I'll get tired of making beats, and all of a sudden I'll feel like writing again. Now I got all this music to write to. So I end up with all of these songs and albums, and people hit me up saying, yo, you need a song for something. I just send you a finished joint. Instead of me having to take your beat or make a beat for you or whatever. So it's never, that's a good question, because it's never active at the same time. You know what I mean? I cannot, and I've tried, man. There's beats that I made where I can hear something on it, but I can't, it won't come out until I'm in writing mode, and then the beat mode is you know, I'm in 2 tracks now, like just kind of fishing through what I want to write.
So what's the most fulfilling beat you've ever made for yourself and for somebody else?
Um, mm, a song about headquarters.
Rest in
It's not-
peace, headquarters.
Yeah, a song about headquarters. I made a song about headquarters, and that to me sticks with me probably the most. That beat, you know, and that and don't make me hurt you, nigga. Don't make me hurt you, nigga. Don't make me kill you, cracker. You fucking cracker ass cracker. Don't just get my money, baby. Before I make you Swayze. Swayze was my joint. I made Swayze in my living room on a 950 and an MPC 62 in my living room with headphones on, with just the sampler and I had all the samples on a disc, and I made it in my living room, and I used it. I think that was my that was one of my joints right there. You know what I mean? Swayze.
Shout out to the technology that you naming up in here.
Yeah.
As for the producers that's in here, I have a show called Truth Behind Beats and Truth Behind Bars. Truth Behind Bars focuses on lyrics. Truth Behind Beats focuses on the producer. So I want to thank you for that, because
Yeah.
people who are out here making beats, they need to know the history of the technology.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you could bring it with you. You can see knowledge is, if you really know how to utilize it, you can carry it. You know what I mean? It can move around with you. So everything that I learned, let me tell you something. Everything that I learned from Patrick and other engineers, Chris Conway and Doc Rodriguez and all the dudes that I've been around in the past, anything that I've ever learned from any of them has always been something that I always remember now. You know what I mean? Conversations with guys that do this, you know, and that technical side. But you can't be, shout out to all the producers out there that really know, because you can't be a dumb guy and be a producer, because you got to understand there's a lot to these samplers, key groups and edit pages, sample pages, and you know, LFOs and all this kind of stuff, sequences and edit sequence pages and all of the stuff that you got to know to be a producer. You can't say these guys are dummies. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody saying that. You just have to take that and know that there's a connection between these samplers as they get newer. I don't think people should be afraid of technology. I think they need to learn who the enemy is. You know what I'm saying?
It's not AI, to be
Yeah,
real.
you got to learn who the enemy is. So if they look at it as an enemy, they should be studying it harder then. You know what I mean? Because it's there. That's like, remember back in the days when dudes was plug and play producers, you had to plug the turntable mixer into the sampler. Then when you want to switch to another sampler, you do that. You know, they had a patch bay here and there, but now, you know, they dudes are Bluetooth and sounds and and all kind of shit, you know. But you gotta know who your enemy is. So you study that. You don't shoot it down and don't say you don't want to know who your enemy is. That makes the fight harder for you.
That's a fact. Hey, man, this has been a great and enlightening conversation, because I think already as an MC, y'all are superheroes, because y'all know how to use words better than some folks.
Yeah.
Then to make beats, that's a whole nother set of powers. So then when you can do both, and you can do both at a top level, it's like, come on, Pete Rock, Bumpy Knuckles, Eric Sermon. That's his name, like Kanye, when you know people ain't writing for him. But you have people who actually know how to turn half their brain off to put another part of their brain on and
Yeah.
That's a superpower, bro.
Yeah. Gotta learn it though. You gotta take time to learn it. There was a time, remember them little yellow sticky pads that people used to leave notes on? And that's how, when I first started learning how to use samplers, every time I figured something out, I had to write it down. And I had them shits all over my studio, man. My shit looked crazy. Like my studio was a paper house. And as I started remembering, I would start peeling them away until I didn't have no more. That just was just how I had to do it. You know what I mean? Can't keep calling everybody every 5 minutes going, yo, how do you do this? How do you do that? Like, you know, I never was that type of person. So I figure out, and now that I got it, you know, I'll teach it to other cats. I do that anyway, but I love educating people on things, like especially like it like has to do with studio equipment and stuff, because a lot of these dudes don't understand how to mix their records. Nowadays, bro, these samplers, you can mix your whole record. Man, shout out to DJ Scratch, who this Scratch would do a whole album inside of the MPCX in the box without using no Pro Tools, nothing. Everything right in the box. Yo, man, it takes some kind of genius to even think about that. And you have they smartphones for there's dudes who do albums on their phone, bro. They call them smartphones for a reason. So
That's facts.
if you use it to, if you use it to look at Instagram all day long, you might as well turn it into what else it can help you do to, be creative if you into that space,
I agree with you. Let's go to some of these comments.
Yeah, no doubt.
Drums Rugged said he wants to ask you how you got the name Freddie Foxxx and the significant meaning behind it. We said it at the beginning of the interview.
Yeah.
Do is rewatch it. My man Pop said MF Doom is a great MC and producer. Do you have any MF Doom stories since he brought him up?
Doom called me one time and said, "Yo, Bum, I want you to get on this song." And he sent me the song, and I forget what the reason was. I didn't do it. But he said to me, "Yo, I want you to talk. Can you leave me a voice message?" And I did a voice message thing for him. And me and him talked about 2 or 3 times, man. But Doom was a unique guy. And I was proud to get a call from him. I was bugging. I didn't even know. And I knew he probably knew me, but I didn't know he was tuned in like that. I think the reason I didn't get on the song was it was a deadline to it. And I was traveling and I was trying to get back to a studio where I could sit down and really write to it. But I ended up doing a phone drop for him on his album.
I got another question from Pop. He said, excluding yourself, who is your Mount Rushmore of New England hip hop? Let's change that question. Since you produce, are there any producers that ever made you want to write? Are there any rappers that you wish you could have written with, or MCs that you see yourself as those were the people who inspired me?
You know what? I think the producers that I like, I've made a lot of records with. Like I love Knots. I got 10 Pop Duke albums with Knots, and only one came out so far. I love working with Premier, of course. Premier and I have a certain chemistry, and I got about an album's worth of unreleased Premier stuff in my computer right now that I know for a fact is bodying everything on the plate, everything. I love working with Pete Rock, because Pete brings out a soulful side of me with the way he produces, you know what I mean? And there's a sound that he and I have together that I know just belong to us, you know what I mean? There's nothing he could do with anybody else that's gonna sound like anything I've ever done with him. I like Static Selector too. I like Static Selector. When I work with Static Selector, right? It was interesting because for some reason his music made me keep my voice up. You know what I mean? I wanted to keep my voice up, really to be heard, and he gave me some funky stuff too, man. I was really, really pleased with the Static Selector stuff. Jesse West is another one. The project me and Jesse West got some fire, man. And Jesse is like, he reminds me of a old dude. I'm not saying he's an old dude, but he reminds me of the old guy from the block that just knew how to play the guitar real funky. Like, Jesse is a musical guy. He's a very musical guy, and he's very talented, super talented, automatically. There's a bunch of cats. Maceo, I work with Maceo, and Maceo from De La Soul got a bounce to his beats that just brought out a whole different, side of me lyrically. Like it just made me really think, go deeper into my pen. Man, like I said, I work with a lot of guys, a lot of MCs, I worked with Def Jeff. I got an album with Def Jeff.
West Coast Def Jeff?
Yeah, Def Jeff. Now Def Jeff, the way he did it was I was like, he put me on stuff that I never thought I would rhyme on. I felt like I was being challenged with him, and the music is bananas, man. Like he as a producer, he was like, yeah, I know you can write this, but write this. And I was like, oh snap. So, it's always that's what that's what doing projects is about. It's like I'm from the days when we didn't have to dress up to go to the studio. You know what I mean? It was work time. You in there working. You know what I mean? We pushing buttons, and we on microphones, we doing backgrounds, we doing skits, we doing, we creating some kind of a something. So, those producers that I worked up with, everybody that I could possibly think that I would want to work with, I worked with. And if something comes about with somebody else, then that's what it's supposed to be. But I don't know if I think everybody that I wanted to work with, I've worked with.
So shout out to Pop is in in this comments real good. He said, you're talking about Bumpy's message on the Born Like This album. Okay. So
Yeah.
Beth Doom you talking about.
Yeah, no question.
So he said, so then who is your Mount Rushmore of New England hip hop? Who's your 5 or your 4 or 5, I guess?
I don't have a Mount Rushmore of anything.
There you go.
I don't have a Mount Rushmore of anything because first of all, especially hip hop, because hip hop is not that small. You know what I mean? I don't think y'all have ever met y'all's favorite rapper yet. Y'all haven't even met him yet. You just because people like you for the moment. I don't get inspired by. I'm not inspired by rappers because those are my peers. I'm not inspired. I'm not saying that in a cocky way. I'm inspired by life. I'm inspired by other art forms of music that I can take and bring it in and make it hip hop. But there's nothing that's hip hop that inspires me to keep doing hip hop. I'm already in it. Both feet, both hands. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really look at hip hop MCs for inspiration. This is me.
I think as a fan, that's where our dreams come in, because legend has it just had a thing where they want us to, like, if you can make your perfect album, who would you put? And they put the rapper and producer and everything.
Yeah.
And I met Lord Finesse one time. Salute to Lord Finesse, yo.
Oh my God, boy.
Yeah, I know.
Another one.
And I was telling him, I was like, yo, I really wanted to hear you collab with somebody. He said, who? And then he put his head down like, I'm about to hear some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And the fan in me was like, nah, really? Like, I would love to hear you do something with Redman. He was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And I know as an artist, it's hard because you're making your art, and then you have somebody who wants to critique what came from your art. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? And I get it. And that's why I always give y'all respect, because one of the hardest things in the world to do is to give the world a piece of yourself.
Yeah.
Like having a child. Like you have a child, you nurture your baby, it goes into the world as a young man, a young woman, and as much as you want to protect your baby, you can only have them for so long, and then they have to be who they are.
Right.
And that's how I feel. I mean, if you could tell me if I'm wrong, that's how I feel art is like you put it out to see if the world accepts it or rejects it, but at the end of the day, it's still a part of you. Am I correct?
Yeah, for sure. Let me just back up real quick, man, about Lord Finesse, right? So he's another one. Like, so there was a time in 92, 93, right? When I was doing Crazy Like a Fox. The original Crazy Like a Fox was done by Digging in the Crates. So it was Lord Finesse in the studio, it was Buck Wild in the studio, it was Showbiz in the studio. And Big L was coming in there getting on my nerves with his jokes every 5 minutes, but that was my man. So Digging in the Crates did the first Crazy Like a Fox version, and when I took it to Flavor Unit, they said it was verbatim, it was too dark. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was the music was, if you knew Digging in the Crates, that's underground DNA. You know what I'm saying? Underground DNA. So that was like, that version of the album is like, I had the Sound of the Police beat before KRS had it. Yeah, the song was called 8 Bars to Catch a Body, and it was Sound of the Police beat, but they didn't want the album, so he ended up, that's what it is. You know what I mean? So, and I still have the songs, you know what I mean? So they're there. But the way digging in the responsibility that they have to underground hip hop and the hip hop itself, digging in the crates is probably one of the most important groups in the development of how 90s hip hop moved along. Because there's a line that I say, um, people don't know that the back seats, the back streets of the Fat Beats was built on the back seats of DITC, right? So Fat Beats to me, and I noticed when I was there, Lord Finesse and them dudes was the ones that was sending artists to Fat Beats. I got turned on to Fat Beats through them. A whole bunch of dudes was going to Fat Beats because digging in the crates, Lord Finesse and Showbiz and them was the pipeline for underground hip hop getting to Fat Beats. You understand what I mean? So that's an important group, and because a lot of cats that was brave enough to go independent needed somebody to show them where to go. The first time I ever seen an independent distributor, Showbiz took me there. I was like, yo, I ain't know I could do this. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know I could do this on my own. That's what opened the door for me to even take an indie route, is because somebody showed it to me. You know what I mean? Finesse, Showbiz. Finesse used to, yo, Bump, come by the crib. He got the SB 1200 set up with a 950 and the beats are playing. I'm writing rhymes. He in there chefing. One of the best cooks you'll ever see is Lord Finesse. Nice. Chefing, real food, soul food, like grandma make it. You know what I mean? And we in there, I'm in there writing, he writing, we building something. I got a lot of dope records with Lord Finesse that, just a lot of catalog, very, very, very good producer, man.
Another artist that we don't talk about enough that deserves flowers.
Good dude, man. I'm talking about, and I'm not just saying, I'm talking about talented, bro. That dude, that Motown State of Mind project that he did, crazy, bro. Crazy, bro. Crazy. Dude's ears, and he's a techie. Like, he's one of them guys that he's a techie, so he understands the technical side of what he's doing. So he's very particular about, the DJing part, the producing part. He's a triple threat, the rapping part. He do it all. You know what I mean? Those guys are like, those guys was Wu-Tang before Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? On the underground side of things, them dudes are just, you gotta salute. All of them is nice. All of them. AG is nice. You know what I'm saying? OC is nice. Me and OC got a lot of records together. If you go listen to the Static Selector album, you'll see we got a joint together on there.
Okay. Okay. Hey, look, I'm with it, yo. I love the DITs. I'm trying to get AG on this show for years.
Yeah, man.
AG, shout out to AG in Japan still, right?
I don't know where he at, but wherever he at, I know he lighting that stage up, or he lighting the mics up.
Yeah, AG was nice. Andre Giant, salute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, we got more comments. What is your favorite track off of the collection?
Shake the Room.
Why does that stand out to you? And is that a description of you when you come into the room as an MC in the industry?
You know why I like that track? Because it was I don't think anybody thought I could tackle it. I could come up with something that would be, fire on there. And then to have Flavor Flav on it is just, can't deny it. You know what I mean? To have Flavor Flav on there with me is just, that it just stands out for me. It's definitely stadium music. You'll hear me say that in the beginning when it come on.
I want to ask you a deep question, because we talk about music, but the enemy of the fan is always the industry.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define the industry as a person that's been in the industry to help the fan understand what the industry is?
Industry shakedown. Industry shakedown. Can't stop rocking. I was born to keep it hot. Fought through miles of pain just to get what I got without crying. Took mad shots without dying. Y'all know when I'm in town, mad heads start flying. Whoever thought that I would be dealt the hand that would make me the most feared lyrical man? Ask Tone how I feel not to be able to sleep. I was laying on him in his dream, squeezing on my heat. I kept the pressure on him. Now I'm universal. We play this money game called hand reversal. I remember when I thought that I could rock at Def Jam. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you right there how I feel about the industry. You know?
Man, me and my man Freaka, shout out to him again. We was talking about, like I said, so tough, right? I was waiting for that album so like I was waiting, and then the album never came out. And I mean, me and my man, like I said, Nas, we talked about this all the time. How you can have somebody and hear them and be ready, and then an album gets shelved or labels fold and things like that. And as a fan, you're left empty, looking for something that would have been fulfilling to you.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this: now that you're going the independent route, you made a name for yourself to make the independent route more successful. How would you school an artist today that wants to put out music, being that the label and getting signed era is over? How would you school them on navigating the industry or the independent side of the industry to sustain a career in music?
Well, first, I would tell him he needs to learn whatever the business is, because that's important. You know, we started backwards. We was more into rapping, and then when we were blindsided by business. You know what I mean? I always believed that the record labels were able to use the streets against hip hop. They used it against you. You can say you're from the streets, but the labels used it against you because they fed into it financially, because we didn't know the business. Back in the days, a album budget of 250,000 was a great look. You know what I mean? And not knowing the business, it just always was weird when I would notice. I was like, well, imagine this: somebody give you something that they advance you, right? If they give you something and say, yo, here, I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you $100. You take $100 right now. You make your product. You give me the product. I sell the product. I get back my $100 before you make a dime. And now I got my $100 back. Now we split 50-50 or 75-25. I'm like, well, where's your investment? That's how the game plays. Where's your investment? Just because you took back the money that you gave me, you made it back before I made a penny. So it's like it's never been fair, because what's fair for one person ain't fair for another. So I would tell a young cat right now, learn your business, man, and build you an idea around your business that supports how you're going to move with your music. Don't just make what everybody else is making. Find you a lane, because we can say who's whack or not all day long, but I guarantee you there's a lot more cats getting a look when they whack than when they're even halfway talented. But somebody's watching. So use your audience in the right way. If you got 13 people that rock with you, then keep rocking for them 13 until they start telling other people about it, and then let it build naturally. The perfect example of that is one of my favorite artists is Tech Nine, because Tech always told me a story about how he played in this club when it was 10 people in there, and he just kept coming back every week and playing until he filled the room. That kind of diligence you can only do on purpose. You know what I'm saying? So I tell these young dudes, man, don't worry about being famous, man. Because once you got something that you really believe is genuine, somebody, and you build it up organically, you can last forever, man, without and duck all the opinions in the world. Because people stop caring about what other people think about you or what other people say about your music. Because ain't nothing nobody say about the song gonna make me go back and change it. It's out there. I did it. This is my rendition. Music is big when it's not about the song, but the person that's singing it. I did so many songs, man, that people never heard. But the fact that I was spitting the bars is what my fans wanted to hear. They didn't care what the song was. I taught them the song. That was the gift I gave them. I gave y'all the song. So you can't tell me what song to do. I tell you what song I'm gonna do for you. You know what I mean? And I'll do something you like, of course, but you have to stay in control of your art. Be the artist. Show art form. Don't let nobody tell you what to do. You an artist, you have to be the art. You know what I mean? Develop the art, be the artist. So that's what I tell them all the time. Stop worrying about being famous. That shit happens when you got something that's quality anyway. You know what I mean?
Salute. That's dope. It said Jabbin X said Bumpy always dropping gems. I learned a lot over the years. And so have I.
Thank
Pop
you.
Pop is stuck on his Gangstar bus. Where were you going on this Gangstar bus?
Oh yeah. Pop. All right. Yeah, Pop is I like Pop. Pop, the Gangstar Bus song. Check this out. So Premier hits me one day. He sends me this track and he said, Bump, I didn't know at the time. After I did the rhyme and wrote the song, something about that beat made me want to just tell a story of how we lived when we was on tour, on the Smoking Grooves tour. Because we went through a lot on that tour. That Gangstar Bus was like we lived together on the road for months. When you live with somebody for months, you get to know the flaws and you get to know the personalities in a different way. When people ain't got nobody to impress, and it's really just raw. The arguments that we had with each other, the fixing of it, the time we had to posse together to almost fight other people. It's just that I needed that story to be told, and that beat said it to me. So everything on that song is me just going back into my mind and painting a picture of what it was like to be on the bus with MOP, with Fox with them, and with Lays, and with all of the people that was there on that bus with us. You know what I mean? Big Suge, Guru, Premier, Stacks, Rome, all of the crew was on that bus. You know what I mean? And Gordon was on the bus, and we just we went through that piece of life, and I wanted to articulate that on that beat because that's what it made me feel like. And then I found out after I sent it back to Premier, he said, Bump, Guru, this was for Guru to write too. And that made it even more special for me because I didn't know that was something that Guru had picked to write to. You know what I mean? Or something to that effect. And I think Premier could probably clarify it better. If you ever talk to him, you could ask him about that. But that's what Gangstar Bus was like. That's what I think is a powerful thing about being an MC, is that we have the ability to paint so many pictures, but cats seem to be stuck in one mode, the street thing, and everybody became crack dealers and drug dealers and gun busters and all of that because it's easier to be mad than to be creative sometimes, but when you can take that creativity and present it with some sort of control anger, you could get militia, you could get I love, you could get, you know what I mean? You got to be an artist at all times and create art. Give the fans what you want them to have as an artist. And stop letting people tell you that don't know how to do shit with art, tell you, yo, mate, you should do a song with this person and you should do a song with that person. And you should shut up and go buy the album and stop telling me what I need to be doing and stay a fan. That's, you know what I mean? So that's kind of, Guru was we was that mindset. Gangstar Bus was that mindset, That was hip hop on the road, man. The stories are bananas. If you had 2 hours, I'd tell them to you.
Well, give me some. You got the mic. The mic's open. Give me one.
Yeah. I remember there was a time on that bus when we got pulled over from we were staying at a golf resort, right? And we come outside and get on the bus to leave, and we had a bus driver that we had to switch in the middle of the night. For some reason, Gordon switched the bus driver in the middle of the night. The guy was definitely a problem, and we came out, get on the bus, we pull off the lot. It was a big, beautiful resort, and I used to have these big water guns. So I left my water guns in the hotel. I was like, oh shit, hold on, I gotta run back into the hotel. I left my water guns in the tub. So they stopped the bus. I jump off the bus. I run back inside, get my water guns. I'm on a golf cart because it was far. So I get back to the bus, put the water guns, and I look out the gate. I see mad police cars like lined up outside the fence. So I thought it was like a place where the cops hung out, you know, and did their little donut thing or something. We get on the bus, pull off, all the cars start following us on the bus. So we get we get off, they get us off the bus. It's like 109 degrees outside. We like the 5 heartbeats on the side of this bus, you know, and they going through everybody's back. Long story short, there's some things I don't want to say, but that bus driver who got fired told them that we had a bus full of guns and we was going to California to kill the person who shot Tupac. And I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? So this, you know,
What?
yo, the dude pulled the bus over, man, all the bags outside on the ground. It was a lot, you know what I mean? But I can remember the AR-15 in my face when the cops said get off the bus. You know what I mean? There was a lot more to the story, but you know, we pulled off. It was a magical day, man. And I gotta give Premier his props for his bravery. There's something that he did there that nobody would have did. Nobody would have did. He could have lost his life doing that shit if he would have got caught.
Wow.
But yeah, Premier's got a lot of heart, man, for that. And I always gave him his props for that.
Wow.
Yeah, but I lived with them dudes for a long time, bro. I know them very well, you know.
Well, everybody watching, especially Pop, I hope you got what you wanted with that story you're asking about the bus.
Yeah, there's more to it, but I won't tell it now. One day I'll tell it all, but there was a lot to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guns and shit involved. There's a lot, you know what I mean?
Book? You gonna write a book?
I don't know. I get tired after I'm 16 bars 3 times and I'm finished writing, man. Somebody else, you know what I mean? Somebody else could, if somebody wanted to do a book and I can talk to them about it on tape or audio book, maybe I do that.
Make it an album. Like,
Yeah, something like that. The right people got to be involved, though. Yeah, the right people.
I'll buy that though. No, I would buy that. Like,
Yeah.
that's the type of stuff. People like the industry stories and all that, but I like the story of the artist, and that would be fire. I mean, I would invest in that 100%. When you do it, hit Heritage Hip Hop. I'm buying.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So let's close the interview out with style, though. We talked about learning the technology and everything like that.
Right.
In history, not the past, but creating history. How important is the MC, and what is the MC's responsibility moving forward as society evolves to you?
Well, I think for me, the MC's importance is to continue to exemplify authenticity. And I say that for this reason, because the most important figure to me, this is just me, the most important figure in hip hop is the DJ. And I feel like that personally because, you know, without the DJ, the MCs is just these acapella bars. You know, I get it, but ain't nobody dancing to that shit. You know, we started off wanting to make the crowd dance and we was rocking parties. So that's what I know. You know what I mean? I know that nowadays everybody just stands there and stares at you when you rhyming. I guess they looking for some amazing word that you say within a flow that catches their I don't know, you know what I'm saying, catches their attention maybe. But back in the days, it wasn't about that. It was about, yo, we going to do a party. We got to rehearse for a party. We rocking a party. So without the DJ to lay out what it is, because that's what battling was about. Battling was about it was a tougher thing because you had to use more of your brain when you're doing acapella battles, which I love. I love all them dudes. There's a lot of guys there that are saying some cold stuff, but the battling I come from, you had to think about staying on beat with your DJ, still having bars, knowing how to flow to what he was playing. You got to be in sync with it. Was a lot more to think about. So I'm always pro DJ when it comes to hip hop, and MC second. You know what I mean? And then as an MC, I'm saying that because I think that's the marriage is DJ MC. That's what we talk about, and that's what hip hop has always been about. But you know, as an MC, our job is to stay relevant, man. Stay different, stay creative, and keep pushing the narrative of rocking the mic the way hip hop is supposed to be presented. Not just, you know, everybody sound like they can do it. You know, there's a lot of guys that can rap, but they not talented. You know what I'm saying? What I mean? There's
Yes.
a lot of people that can rap, but they not talented. They,
Yes.
you know, I've come to realize that people like who they can imitate.
Facts.
They like who they can imitate because that what that does is it justifies them biting.
Facts.
It justifies them rapping like somebody else and saying they paying homage when they really trying to develop a style, a similar style to somebody that they like. People that you can't imitate usually say, "Man, I can't fuck with that." You know. So I want to be that guy because I always say, you know, like listen to the song. You know, you can't spit militia like me.
Nah, that was one of a kind.
That's like planting weed already smoked, trying to regrow it. You know what I mean? You can't spit militia like me. That's the way I want it to stay that way. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my gift to the listener, to the people that really love MCs that have, you know, a lot of guys is with this. Y'all got to stop this Mount Rushmore conversation, man, because you doing hip hop an injustice by minimizing us to 5 heads on a mountain that was really occupied by slave owners.
Ooh, wait.
You understand?
Talk about it.
Come on. So let's give hip hop what it is just due. There's a lot of people, and I know it's a lot of junk to sift through. So that's the reason they do that, so they don't have to sift through all the nonsense. But everybody, it's all subjective, dog. To somebody else's. I don't even understand why somebody would ask a question like that. And no slight to nobody, but that question is one of the questions that I think is just does more damage. To minimize somebody's thought process to only listening to 5 people or 4 people or whoever many people on this Mount Rushmore nonsense. I believe that hip hop is so much bigger than everybody should be revered for what they like. Like I know there's a reason why Cool G rap to me is one way, lyrically just genius. His delivery is, you know, there's things about Cool G rap that I don't see in a KRS-One, and KRS-One got things that I don't see in a Kane. You know what I mean? So when that kind of diversity would come, you know, look at Biz Markie, man. Biz ain't never been known as lyrical, but still one of the greatest of all time as an MC because he was unique. He was different. That stood out more than anything else. You understand? When people start making their opinions more important than the shit they criticize, and we don't stand a chance out here.
Yo,
you know?
Yeah, that was profound, bro. I gotta give you your props because hip hop is real to you and how you speak. You know how like when somebody really believes something, you can feel it when they speak.
Yeah.
That's why you're one of my favorites. I'm probably sure people say you're one of my favorite MCs or whatever, but I wanted to make this interview happen because I feel like I owed you a redo because it was early in the game, and because I really wanted to show you that respect and say thank you to you for making.
I appreciate it, man.
Being the man that you are. So thank you very much.
Yo,
this is Bumpy Knuckles.
I'm glad you. Let me just say one thing before you leave, my brother. I'm glad to see you still pushing through, man. You know, I catch clips of your show, man, and I'm always smiling like, yeah, early I was on that early. You know what I mean? Early, bro. And I'm glad to see you still doing it, man. You keep pushing the narrative. You keep, you know, and remain opinionated because that's the value of somebody who can articulate real thoughts and give people something to think about. Shout out to everybody that logged in and watched, man. Hopefully I was, you know, I gave you something that you could walk away with, man. And I was glad to be able to do it on this particular platform, man. Heritage Hip Hop Podcast. Ain't nobody fucking with you, son.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So to everybody watching out there, thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Make sure, my man Palaya in the chat, he said, make sure you write your book. He won it.
Yeah, no doubt, Palaya. No doubt, fam. No doubt.
Hit the like button, comment, and share this. If you like what you're seeing, you want me help me build this platform to go to the next level. Hit the Cash App, $Heritage Hip Hop. We are on the road to 5,000. When we get 5,000 subscribers, we're going to give you, the watcher, you the subscriber, you the person who helped this thing grow. We're going to give you something, Heritage Hip Hop, and also my partners on the Mic Council live every Sunday at 8 p.m. Me, K1, DJ K1 of the Mixtape Show, the Seek of the Hello Effect podcast. We get together and talk about hip hop culture. We are culturally driven, which means no sugar cutting, no sugar cookie and shit, no skipping. We are culturally driven, no skips, and we talk about real hip hop and the things that affect the hip hop culture, from politics to religion to rhymes, bars, beats, or whatever it is that affects us. Once again, I'd like to thank Bumpy Knuckles for coming on the show. It is an honor and a pleasure. And whenever you want to come back, sir, the mics are open. And it's been an honor to talk to you.
Thank you, man, for having me, man. I look forward to doing it again. I will do it as many times as you ask me.
Hey, it's always open. You just keep coming back.
We'll fuck around, have a co-host. You keep playing.
Let's do it. Hey, you start your own show. What's good?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right. So for everybody out there, thank you for chilling with us. May the Most High bless you. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you and good night. We are Heritage Hip Hop. Real hip hop. Real hip hop. We here. Real